Good evening, my friends, and welcome back. On this episode of The Insectologist, we're going to be going up in elevation. Yep, we're going on a trip. It'll be about 2.5 to 3 hours from my location here, and what I'm in search of is the Pine Devil Moth, Citheronia sepulcralis. It's closely related to the hickory horn devil that a lot of you are familiar with, the big green caterpillar that has those orange and black horns on top of its head. Very closely related to that. But it's a rather uncommon moth, and it's considered probably a little bit more prized by most collectors out there, even though it's not as spectacular as the royal walnut moth, Citheronia regalis. I'm also going to be looking for the 3 major fritillary butterflies while I'm up there, because they all occur in the same area there. That's the great spangled fritillary, the Aphrodite fritillary, and the Diana. And all 3 of them are big, spectacular species, so I'll be looking for those as well. So come along with me. It's kind of a late start. I just got off work a while ago and I rushed around here trying to get everything packed up. I got the generator in the back, I got my lights, I got a cooler full of drinks, I got my sheets, everything ready to go, and I'm getting ready to hit the road. So come along with me. Let's see what we can find. Well, my friends, I made it up here on top of this mountain, way back here in this back road that I found many, many years ago. I want to say it's been probably 20 years ago, I'd say. We came down here and discovered this spot and thought it would be a good place to put up a light to do some night collecting for beetles and for moths. And this is a habitat for the Pine Devil Moth, Citheronia sepulcralis. I wanted to get that whippoorwill on video, or on audio actually. I think the camera's picking that up over the hum of the generator I've got set up. But I've got a 400 watt and a 250 watt set up, about 50 yards apart or so. And I'm trying to draw in these moths. And so far I've got a few small moths in here, a few catoclas and some noctuids, and a couple of others, but haven't seen the Pine Devil Moth yet. It may still be too early, I don't know. So let's go up here and let me show you my setup here. I've got fluorescent tubes, black light and daylight, and of course the mercury vapor, or I'm sorry, metal halide lights. I think my 250 is a mercury vapor. But my friend Bill and Eric will recognize this spot right away. You know exactly where I am. This is a undisclosed location. This is our secret. I've collected here several times. Here at this spot, and also down the road down there. So let's see what came in here. There's some of these angle wing moths. Here's one of my favorites. That's a wave flannel moth. He's been sitting there for a while. In fact, he came in pretty quick, almost right away. There's my generator, Honda EU 2000i. And here's what I've got set up. That's a 400 watt metal halide. And these are 40 watt tubes here. black light. There's my ballast. And let's look and see what is at the other light there. I see some stuff flying around. We've only been here a little over 30 minutes, so I don't expect a whole lot. It's a little bit cool up here. It's actually around 70 degrees, which is nice, good for me. I've been up here when it was a lot hotter in July. That may be the case with the Pine Devil Moth. The reason we're not seeing it. There's that 250 watt mercury vapor. Here I've got a daylight bulb and two black lights. A regular black light and a fluorescent black light. Ultraviolet black light. It's always done the trick before, so anyway. So I'm going to leave these lights on for a few hours and then I'll get some sleep. May come back here tomorrow evening, or we may choose another spot. I've got a few other places in mind. This has always been a good place for collecting though. So I'm going to be camping out in the back of my truck. I've got an air mattress and a sleeping bag. And I'll be sleeping, spending the night in my truck, which is actually more comfortable than it sounds. Anyway, I'll be back with you. Well, friends, here's one cool moth that came in. This is the huckleberry sphinx. You don't see these very often. The reason they're called huckleberry sphinx is because the larva feeds on huckleberry or blueberry, and it grows in this area. So we got one good moth on this trip, so we'll see how many more come in. I'll tell you what, guys, before we go, let me just do a quick pan around, because I don't know when I'll be back here. You know, hopefully I'll come back, maybe even this summer. But it may be next year, it may be in 2 or 3 years, or it may be never. You know, you just never know. So that road up there comes to a dead end. It kind of goes over the mountain. Right there is where we set up our lights. I've got video footage from last night of what came into the lights. Here's where we like to park. And occasionally I do like to set up further down this road. Down there. I have collected way at the bottom of that hill and got some really neat specimens from down there. Well, guys, aside from all the interesting beetles and moths that I encounter here, there's some cool butterflies too. I mean, they're all part of the insect world. And up here on this mountain, or in this chain of mountains, there are 3 different species of fritillary. And I just saw one of them. It's a Diana fritillary, which is one of the most beautiful butterflies in North America. I gotta say, it probably worldwide. You know, they're highly sought after by collectors, and if I see any more, you'll see why, and I think I will. But right now the very first ones are coming out this year, so they'll be mostly males, but with some luck we might run across some females, and you'll need to stay tuned because they are absolutely spectacular. Okay, here at the roadside I've discovered some of this orange butterfly weed, milkweed, and I think that is the great spangled fritillary. Okay, that's one species. Let's look over here. And there's another. Yep, that's a male great spangled fertility. These are fairly common throughout their range. The other two, the Diana and the Aphrodite, are not so common, but with some luck we'll see some today. There's another one right there. These have been on the wing for a while. You can tell by the condition of their wings. They've been flying, chasing females. Okay guys, I'll check this spot here because I've found blueberries in here before, but there's a male Diana fritillary. Well, he just flew out towards that road there. Here he comes back. There he is. See if he lands there, we can get a better picture of him. Well, they landed right here at my feet. He's trying to land on the handle of my butterfly net. Anyway, that's one of probably a half a dozen I've seen this morning already. In here though, I don't see any blueberries growing yet. There's the host plant of that huckleberry sphinx. That's huckleberry or blueberry. That's it right there. I don't see anything on it though. Okay folks, here's a close look at the great spangled fritillary. There's two males. Pretty common sight here. Okay folks, here on the side of the road I spotted some of this orange milkweed growing, and this is what I wanted to record. There's a male Diana fritillary. Okay, my friends, I just wanted to show you my light setup while we still had a little bit of daylight left Here I've got my 250 watt setup. That's a mercury vapor bulb at the top. And we've got a daylight and 2 blacklight bulbs. And I hang these white sheets on the foliage here because a lot of times these moths will fly in and they'll land right on that, you know, including on the ground. And then here, about 75 yards or so up is my main setup with a 400 watt light. And as you can see, I'm covering everything from that opening where that road comes in, back here, and then down here, and then this light should cover everything going down that road. So pretty thorough coverage here. And pretty much the same setup, only with a little bit more power here. And I've got my Honda EU 2000i. It's running the whole show. So folks, it'll be dark before too long. I may go ahead and shut this off for now. I don't know. There may be something that would come in the dusk hours, but what I'm after is the Pine Devil Moth. You know, that's the one I'm looking for. And hopefully I can find it. I'm looking for a female because I want to rear the larvae. Okay, I've done it before and I brought them up to the pupal stage, but I was not able to get any of them to come out as adults. So I want to try it again. Maybe with some luck I'll have success. Guys, we got the first Pine Devil Moth right there. Just came in. That's a male. Let's see if he'll calm down here. There he is in the jar. That's the first one. First one of the night, first one of the season. Well, part of the mission has been accomplished. Yep. That's what I was after over at that other location last night, but nothing came in. So we got some pine sphinxes too for a friend of mine that's looking for those. He's in Arizona. And apparently he don't get those out there, but we got this guy. All right. If we could just get a female, that'd be great. But hey, I'm happy with that right there. Well guys, I knew setting up that other light down there was the ticket. I knew it. I just went down there after I caught that male Pine Devil Moth, and there she is. A big, beautiful female. Look at that. She's in great shape, and I'm going to try and get her to oviposit, you know, lay some eggs. And if she does, we'll have a rearing project that I'd like to cover that I don't think anybody on YouTube has done yet. Not for this moth right here. So, hey. Mission accomplished, my friends. Mission accomplished. Maybe we'll get another one. It's still early, and these are ultra fresh. Ultra fresh. We'll see what else comes in here. Is that another one? No. This is what I was trying to get at the other location, and normally that's a great location, but it was a little bit cool last night. Tonight it's warmer, and it was kind of sticky earlier. It got up into the 90s earlier today, and I think that's what did the trick. So, hey, we got one. and the night is still young. Well guys, I just got 3 more males, so now it's time to go look again, see what else came in. All the ones I'm getting are really fresh. Plenty of these little sphinx moths and everything else. But I tell you what, I've really missed this. I kind of put this aside because I wanted to give my YouTube channel a real chance, and I have. You know, I've done a pretty good job at that. But this is something that I enjoy just as much as going fishing. You know, when you get what you're after, what you're looking for. There's another one. Another one just came in. There it is. Right there. It's like, you know, when you're crappie fishing and you're looking for a good mess of crappie. This is what it's like, because they're coming in left and right. I mean, this is great. Some kind of a sphinx moth here. Not sure what that is. Right there. Oh, it's another pine sphinx. The other side there. Oh, there's another one. That one's been on the wing for a little while. We'll let him go. Only keep the best ones. I knew this location would work because there's different species of pine all up and down this road here. And I don't know how far back into the woods it goes, but that's why these moths are here, because the food plant's here. This is something that collectors look for because they're not that common. I mean, when you find them in good numbers like this, you know you've got a great location. It was like this about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago when I was here last. I don't know how many we got that night, but a lot of activity going on here tonight, folks. All right, let's go check that other light. See if anything came in since we were there last. This is the perfect setup right here. Got 2 lights going in 2 different locations. I'm still just tickled over getting that female. I mean, absolutely delighted. All right, let's look around here. Getting a lot of these other moths in here. That's the abbot sphinx. And of course the pine sphinx, they're coming in as well. Let me look around the perimeter here. I need to call my friend in Arizona and see how many of these pine sphinxes he wants, because I mean they're just all over the place. I'm looking, I don't know how many of them are on the ground here. There's one, there's one, there's one. Pine sphinx. I think there's 2 different species here. Oh, there's another pine devil moth. That one there has been on the wing for a while. He's got some damage. I don't know where he came from. I just looked down and there he was. That's him. Alright, I'm going to collect some more of these pine sphinxes and stay at it for a while. This is a great location for both of those species, the pine sphinx and the pine devil moth. Well guys, let me give you a little bit of a detailed, closer look at these moths that I'm after here. And I know what you're going to think. You're like, well, big deal, it's just a brown moth, you know. Well, for the person that's a professional collector, and we're not talking about, you know, getting out and doing this because it looks pretty. That's not why we're doing it. These moths are highly sought after by collectors, and I found them. Not so much the pine sphinx, but I know some folks that are really after those as well. Let me get a light here to show you. There's one right there that's in real good shape. Yeah. That's a nice one there. And down there is the Pine Devil Moth. Check out that guy there. I think we'll grab him as well. Well guys, let me give you a quick overview of this evening. Of course, you could tell these Pine Devil Moths came in. Lots of them. More than I would have ever expected. Here's one of my favorites. That's a flannel moth right there. Here's a dung beetle. Put a little light on some of these. There's a prominent moth. That's a cool moth right there. Look at that. That's really cool. Pine Sphinx. Lots of those came in today. Check that one out. That is cool. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. Quite a variety here, folks. There's a beautiful owl moth. Gorgeous. That's a male owl moth. That's the Abbott's Sphinx. Tussock moths, lots of those. There's a leopard moth. Pretty cool looking. That's a rosy maple moth right there. They're pretty common. Another one right next to him. And another one over there. Another one right there. Alright, I'm just about ready to hang it up here. I just thought I'd give you a quick overview of what came in here, and I'll go over everything in detail before I really hang it up. But I really enjoyed this trip, but I'll close it out tomorrow. Well, folks, to say it was a successful night would be an understatement. I don't know how many of those moths we got, but it was a lot. And I found another female, by the way, including this beautiful Polyphemus moth with real heavy pink markings or lines on the edge. Nice dark male. Just gorgeous. Beautiful moth. There's something over here moving around. Yep, another Pine Devil Moth. He's got a rip in the wing. But that's the only real big Citernid besides a Luna that came in a while ago. We've got all kinds of neat moths on the sheet here, just real variety. That's absolutely one of the prettiest Polyphemus moths I've ever seen, I gotta say. Anyway, I'm gonna go check my other lights and probably bring them in. I'm getting ready to hang it up and go to bed because I got a trip back home tomorrow. Well, folks, I'm on my way back home now and almost there. Ran through some heavy weather on the way back, but I stopped and got a little bite to eat, and then the storm passed. But either way, I thought I was through it and ran into more bad weather. It took me a little while because I really had to slow down, and everybody else did too, because you couldn't hardly see anything for all the heavy rain that we came through there. But either way, I wanted to make this video an introductory video and feature one of the favorite places I like to go collecting and also studying nature and just seeing the countryside here in Tennessee. And I wanted to feature that moth, that Pine Devil Moth. And I expected to see maybe a handful, 2 or 3, maybe 5, but last night, how many I encountered, 80 or 100. That was just exceptional. And to see that many different species show up at my lights in one location, that was quite a treat as a naturalist and as an outdoorsman. You know, a lot of people that watch my other channel, the Cumberland Outdoorsman, are more into hunting and fishing and everything, but I often take the time to stop and observe the little things in nature, you know, wildflowers and birds and things like that, but especially insects, because it's always been a passion of mine. And that's the reason I wanted to create this other channel, and I wanted to feature that moth in an introductory video to a new channel that I'll be launching right away. So let me get home, and then we'll go through all the material that I collected. And let me just say I appreciate you coming along and hope you enjoyed it. So I'll see you in just a little bit. Well, my friends, here we are a little over a month after my collecting trip where I went after the Pine Devil Moth, Citheronia sepulcralis. That's the scientific name. And almost immediately after I collected those females at that location, they started ovipositing. I started getting eggs like the next day. And I placed them in a petri dish, and they're about the size of a BB, maybe a little smaller, and they're green in color. And then after about 10 to 14 days or so, they started to hatch, and they were little tiny caterpillars, really small, maybe the size of a mosquito, if not smaller. And here's one of them crawling on my finger. Now, as you can see, it's grown to a pretty good size there. And I've got them in this container here in which I placed Virginia pine. I made this container where I cut out the top and I put a mesh screen on it. And it gives them the right amount of moisture and airflow so that they can grow successfully and feed. And it seems to be just the right balance for them. There's several of them in here. As you can see, there's 2 of them right there. Let me put this one on the plant here. Get him off my finger if I can. Come on, guy. Okay, there he goes. Well, anyway, as you can see, there's several of them in here, and they blend in so well with that pine, with the twigs of the pine. This one here has been eaten all the way down to the base. They eat these needles, the Virginia pine needles, and I'm sure you can rear them on other species of pine. They just seem to do exceptionally well on this particular species, which is real convenient for me because I've got it growing right here around the corner. And like I say, I'll be increasing the size of this enclosure quite a bit as they're growing because they're not done yet. They'll get really big before they're finished and they get ready to pupate. And that's the reason I'm doing this. I'm wanting to learn about their life cycle and take photographs of all the different stages of development. And then hopefully, with some success, I can bring them to adulthood and see the adult moths emerging next summer. They'll pupate and they burrow into the loose soil in the forest floor, and they remain there all winter and most of the spring. Some of them will emerge in late spring, but most of them will come out midsummer. Well, folks, one of the reasons these are called Pine Devil Moths is because the caterpillar has those spiky looking horns just behind the head, and also another spike there at the posterior section of its body. Give you a good close-up. And you know, that's one of those things you don't get to see unless you rear them, because the chances of finding them in the wild are pretty slim. That is the caterpillar anyway. Now another reason that I went to that area is because I've been monitoring the populations of the 3 major fritillary butterflies that fly in that area. The great spangled, Spiraea cybele, which has recently been renamed as Argynnis. They've reverted back to the old taxonomic name, Argynnis cybele, Argynnis diana, and Argynnis aphrodite. But I'm not going to go back and change all my label names from Spiraea to Argynnis now. It's just too much work. But either way, from what I saw a pretty good number of Dianas, Spiraea diana, or Argynnis diana, I should say. And of course also Argynnis cybele. I think I might have seen one Aphrodite, and from past experience I've noticed that that particular species, the Aphrodite fritillary, in that area anyway, is subject to extreme fluctuations in their population density. And that's the reason I went there, is to kind of keep an eye on how things are going there. One thing I did notice is that there's a lot less nectaring plants along the roadsides, and that's because of the spraying that's been going on. I think TVA has been going through the area every so often, every few years, and spraying the roadsides for weeds or whatever else might be growing under the power lines. And you know, those nectaring plants, unfortunately, also suffer because that poison that they use kills everything in the area. And I really wish they'd stop doing that. But either way, I wanted to show you a spectacular butterfly species in this video. I think that maybe in the future, if I go back, we'll be able to get some more footage of that so that I can share it with you. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video and saw something that I enjoy doing, and maybe a look into another world that a lot of people either don't see or they pass by and never notice. So this is the insectologist wishing you well, and until next time, y'all take good care of yourselves. Get out there and enjoy the great outdoors, but take note of what's around you. I'll see you guys next time.